Welcome to the National Catholic College Admissions Association and Jesuit Excellence Tour Virtual College Fair. We're so excited to have you participating in this event. We have some fantastic schools here with us today. My name is Anna and I'll be your facilitator. Before we get started, a few housekeeping items. Your camera and microphone are off, so the panelists cannot see or hear you. You can use the Q&A button on your screen to type your questions to our presenters at any time. This is just one of many different sessions happening, so be sure to check out the schedule on the website. And this presentation is being recorded and will be available at strivescan.com/NCCAA. Now I'd like to turn it over to our presenters. Take it away.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. What we'll start with is we'll all introduce ourselves, where the institution that we work at, and then we'll go over our panel topic for today, which is preparing you for next steps, career placement, research, internships, grad school, and more. We will go over specific topics within that. We'll address some frequently asked questions within that topic, and then have some time for Q&A at the end. And since this is a webinar Zoom, you'll ask questions through the Q&A. You can ask anonymously, and then we'll get to them towards the end. But please feel free to send your questions throughout. We'll remind you that that's where you can send your questions, is through the Q&A. So I'll go ahead and start, and then I'll have my colleague Matt introduce himself. But my name is Usel Aguilar, and I'm an Associate Director of Admission at Santa Clara University, located in Santa Clara, California. And I'll be helping to moderate for today's event, but you'll ask questions through the Q&A, but I'll have my colleagues introduce themselves right now.
My name is Matt Kwiatkowski. I'm an Assistant Director for Undergraduate Admissions at Canisius College, located in Buffalo, New York. And I'll pass it off to Jessica.
Hello, my name is Jessica Skurlinis, and I am an enrollment counselor at St. Leo University. We're located about 25 minutes north of Tampa area in Florida, and I do all of Central Florida, so that big middle section. So, all right.
Hi, everyone. My name is Leanne Hutchinson. I am an admissions counselor over at Holy Family University, located in Philadelphia, towards more kind of central Philadelphia. And yeah.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And colleagues, if you could, in the chat, make sure you select to everybody, put your contact information. So should anyone have any questions, they can reach out to you directly. So we're going to discuss a couple topics today. I'll go through them. We're going to talk about our pre-professional support, career services, graduate school, and internships. And we'll talk about them and how they look at our institution and how they look at many universities, but to give the perspective of the universities that we serve. So I'll go ahead and start with Matt with pre-professional support.
Awesome, thank you. So one area we wanted to really focus on, the type of support that most schools will have, is pre-professional support, which entails, if you're looking to go into pre-med, pre-law, pre-pharm, pre-dentist, pretty much any pre-professional health program. So you'll find at most schools that they'll have a pre-professional advisor for these programs that will be there to support you as you kind of go through this process. Usually that person is a faculty member within one of the programs that is closely associated with the area of interest. So for example, at Canisius, we have a pre-law and a pre-med center. Our pre-med advisor, she is actually a faculty member of our chemistry department. So she actually teaches organic chemistry for a lot of our pre-med students. So she would be the person that most of our students will facilitate their process as they're looking to apply for medical school or any pre-professional health program as they're kind of going through that process. These pre-professional advisors are typically there to help you through every step of the process, starting from freshman year when you're trying to figure out what exactly you want to do with this field. Do you want to be a doctor? Do you want to be a nurse? Are you really sure you want to handle a situation where you have to deal with blood or different things? So it's really just a catch-all position. And a lot of times these advisors are really good connectors to a lot of the schools you're looking to apply to. So for example, our pre-med director, Dr. Allison Backstrom, she actually has really good working connections with a lot of the medical schools in the country. So as students come to her and say like, hey, I want to apply to XYZ medical school, whether it be, Georgetown University or locally at the University of Buffalo for us, she knows exactly who to talk to and really develop those relationships and really get to know like what exactly they're looking for when a student's applying to that school. I will tell you that for a lot of pre-med advisors, their role is to make you an informed person. They want to make sure that you know what you're talking about, and make sure you understand the commitment you're getting into. Whether it's nursing with a 4-year program or MD where it could be 8 to 10 years. So you really want to make sure that you understand like the full commitment of what you're going into. The same could be said of a pre-law advisor. The pre-law advisors usually are lawyers themselves. So a lot of times they have been experienced in the field and have connections into the field, so you can get shadowing experiences. Pre-law could sometimes be a little bit different because it's not as rigorous in prerequisites, where classes that you need to take to get into a law school, as much as like a health profession. Health professions, the key piece that a pre-health advisor is going to help you with is understanding the school that you're applying to and what kind of pre-professional prerequisites they have for that school, whether it be, oh, you need to take organic chemistry, anatomy and physiology, or whatever it might be, that you have all the prerequisites before you get into the application process. A lot of times these support professionals are also there to give you assistance if you're looking to go into MCAT programs for like training or practice to get ready for an MCAT or an LSAT. Depending on what you're trying to, practice and take the test for. These people are also usually purveyors of joint degree and early assurance programs at our schools. So for at our school, Canisius, we have more than two. We have a couple different joint degree and early assurance programs for like pharmacy, dental, medical school, both osteopathic and MD routes. And that person also is the person that will help you as you're kind of applying for those early assurance or joint degree programs and making sure you're following all the right steps and meeting all the qualifiers. Same with pre-law. If you have any like accelerated JD programs, which are usually 3+3 programs, we have one at Canisius with the University of Buffalo, but many schools have them. Basically, it's to assure that you're taking the right major that will cross over and count for those programs. Another piece that kind of lives within these pre-professional advising organizations within schools are usually advisory councils or advisory committees that are there to help write recommendation letters for you, help you kind of network and get into the field a little bit. I know at Canisius, our pre-health advisory board is about 40 to 50 practicing physicians in the field in various different responsibilities and roles. And those people are really there to support you and help you kind of figure out like, hey, I want to be an MD in, neurology, or I want to go be an MD in psychology or be a psychiatrist. Like, it really is a catch-all place that you can kind of go see. And just know that when you get lumped in with pre-med, that you'll see at a lot of schools, that pre-med usually stands for every pre-professional health program. So if you're going for OT, PT, athletic training, dentistry, pharmacy, MD, OD, so there's definitely, or DO, I should say, there's a lot of different routes that you can go within that. And I can assure you that everybody here on this panel has some sort of pre-professional advising program just like that. And very much so, they're really all about building relationships. And we're all similar size schools. So it's kind of nice for us because we're smaller schools in general that our pre-professional health advisors really know every student by their name and know kind of like what their deal is and what they want to go into. So that's kind of the gist of what a pre-professional advisor does at our schools. So with that, I'm going to actually pass it off to Jessica, and she's going to talk a little bit about what career services are at each of the schools.
Yes, thank you so much. So as Matt was saying, we are all roughly around the same size as far as students go on our campus, so it's on the smaller end of things, which is really great because your advisors, other students on campus, your professors. So it gives you more of that community feel, which is really nice. So as far as the career services aspect of things, it's great because it's that transition into the real world. It's why you're going to college and why you're paying money to get this education. It's that end goal. So it's very important. So definitely we'll just talk about what career services even is. every school is going to have a department for career services. It might be called something differently, but that same general idea of things is those people that are going to help you get those interviews for jobs, internships, help you with interviewing skills and just your resume, all of those different things. So definitely take advantage of your school's resources because those are going to be extremely useful to you. So use it. So some of the things that you can do with your career services department, like I said, it will help you with your resume and your cover letters, and then just various things along those lines. Your resume is extremely important. It's everything that you've done within academics, within your previous job history, your skill set, things of that sort. You want it to look very, very great, eye-catching, so you stand out amongst other individuals. You want to be that person that they're like, oh my goodness, I would love to have them on my team. Their resume really stuck out. They remember you. So your career services department will help you get your resume and your cover letter up to that point. So that way they can't pass you up. Along with that, they will help you with mock interviews. So I know our department on campus, you can literally go in and sit down in their office. They will go over those typical interview questions, and you would play the person going into the interview, and they would play the employer, and so you get kind of that practice. So you're not as stressed out and nervous going into. It's great to have some nerves. It means you care about it, but you don't want to be extremely nervous to where it impacts your interview. So they will help you with that. So you can apply for internships, job applications through them. For example, St. Leo University has a website called Handshake. It's kind of like Indeed.com. I'm going to assume the other universities have something similar. And so, yeah, you go through, upload your resume, upload your cover letter, apply for those various jobs. But Handshake is really cool because it's employers that are specifically scouting out St. Leo University students. So they want our graduates. So it makes it easier to get a job and know that it's a good fit because they were looking for you. And like I said, the other universities probably have something similar. And so then, yeah, our career services kind of helps you get that profile set up. So that's looking really great. And you have a higher chance of, getting calls back and interviews and things of that sort. They will also help you find a path. A lot of students go into college and they're like, I know I want a degree, I know I want to do something, but I don't know what. And so they will help you, they'll sit down with you and help you kind of, what are your interests? What do you love to do? What's that end goal for you? They will talk you through that. You could have weekly meetings with them even because we are smaller schools. So they care about your well-being and what you're doing with your life. And so they'll kind of shift you onto that right track. That's great for you, which is nice. And so then, as I said, career fairs and just all of that fun stuff, they will always be putting on career fairs and have flyers around campus and just all kinds of things to help you just become aware of some of that stuff, because as a college student, you're not necessarily thinking about all these things post-graduation. You're thinking about your homework and the different things that you have going on within your schedule. But your career service department, they're thinking of that end goal for you. So they'll have those career fairs on campus where you can just talk to different employers and networking, because that's really great to get an early start talking to some of these people. One, good practice, and two, meet them early. So maybe even if you're going in as a sophomore and meeting these employers, 2 years down the road, you'll be like, I met you 2 years ago. I'm still here. I'm still interested. And they're like, wow, they're really committed. So they will help you with that as well. So utilize these resources post-graduation. You're paying to go to university, you're paying to get that education. That's part of it. So definitely utilize it, take advantage. If you have any questions, definitely let me know. I know, and that goes for the other panelists as well. We all put our information in the chat. So I believe I'm kicking it off to Annie.
Hey, hi everyone. Okay, so now I'm going to take over and talk about some of the kind of a graduate side of it all and kind of graduate program offerings and what it kind of looks like to go into that process. So as Jessica was saying, obviously in the different career centers, ours is called our experimental learning center. obviously it's a matter of getting you a job and getting that next step into an actual career. For some of you, a next step might actually be grad school, or, you know, obviously med school, or so on and so forth. So for just some kind of general information about different requirements some type of schools might have for master's degree, some schools will require some type of testing. So I know that for law school, you will have to take the LSAT, or you might have to take the GRE or the GMAT, so, or some type of entrance exam of some sort to make sure that you meet some qualifications, because some master's degree programs can be a little intense. So that's there to make sure that you can move forward confidently. Some will require not only your transcripts, depending on, keep in mind, if you've gone to multiple schools, that's something that they're going to look at. You also have a personal statement. I personally have my master's degree, and that was something that was really important, because they wanted to know what I did in undergrad, especially if you're thinking about going into a master's degree directly after your undergrad degree and not kind of entering in any of that real world experience or job experience. They want to know some information and some of your experience you had in your undergrad to see if you're kind of mentally ready for a grad program. Also, an academic writing sample. This is just kind of an overview of what you did in those 4 years and kind of your best work. And then also some letters of recommendation. This is really good to get from your counselors or your academic advisors once you're in school. These are people that you know. Here at Holy Family, our students start out with an academic advisor, and then in their second year, they receive one in their major. So there's somebody who is going to be your best friend, I promise you. Mine was. And he did write me my letter of recommendation for grad school. So it is somebody that, you know, you're close with, or even professor. You know, us being smaller schools, we have the liberty of our students being able to create those personal relationships with their professors. So this is a great opportunity to talk to them about what your next steps are, not only job wise, but education wise. So a little bit of information about the grad programs at Holy Family, which obviously I'm sure will overlap with some of my colleagues here. We have two different program layouts. So we have a traditional layout, which is 15 weeks worth of classes. And then we have an accelerated degree program, which is 8 weeks. So in some of the different ones, obviously there's a long list. I won't bore you with all 20 some of them, but just some to highlight. We do have a Doctor of Psychology and Counseling available for our students. We also have a Master of Science in Counseling and Art Therapy. So some students who go into the psychology major will think, okay, well, I also want to do art, and we get this all the time. I feel I really want to do art, but I also kind of want to do criminal justice, and we're like, that's very two different fields. So this is a great opportunity for students to be able to do both of those things, and also be able to, if they want to minor in an undergrad, or if they want to do it as a side in their graduate, that's an option that they have. We also have two different MBA style programs. So we have a traditional MBA program, which is available online and in person. That is something, obviously, because of the pandemic, we understand how valuable it is to have things available online to us. So something that Holy Family is definitely trying to do is making sure that we're providing those programs for our students. It's convenience. So we have that online. And actually a very popular program is our new professionals, which is our other model for our MBA. So basically what it is students who decide to start their MBA or master's degree of some sort directly after they finish their undergrad degree. So they're not getting that real world experience or that job experience. And sometimes in some situations that can kind of hold them back. But we've placed this program specifically in place to give those students that extra attention and an extra class that they can build that experience. And obviously, like most of the universities here, our professors and different staff are people who work in the field. There are people who are on our accountants or our business owners or anything. So you're learning from people, not just from a textbook, but people who have the experience. Excuse me. And obviously that one is also offered online. We also have a Master's of Education and a Master's of Nursing. And we also have different certification options available for students. Just kind of as a, obviously, some students, you want to get this, and I think it's kind of weird, and I don't know if anybody can agree with me. You kind of finish an undergrad and you kind of get FOMO of like missing school, and then you kind of finish a graduate and you're like, maybe just one more thing. So you kind of want to keep going. So that's the situation some of our students. And if you move from state to state, different states will have different certification options and necessities for depending on the career you want to go on. Something I also want to highlight, and this is something that I'm sure the other schools also offer, is a 4+1 program in our MBA programs, and then a 4+2 program in our counseling psychology program. So basically what those are is students work through their undergrad degree to receive their bachelor's degree. And within that program, they also mix in some of the master's degree programs in there so that students can start their master's degree and then accelerate the amount of time that they're spending to receive those degrees. So for an MBA, instead of it being 4 years and then 2 years, we break it down so you're taking some of those master level classes in your senior year of undergrad while also only having 1 more year of grad school. That's actually what I did. And it is a very convenient program because it saves you time, it saves you money, but it's also a matter of you're getting it out of the way if it's something you're interested in. And our counseling and psychology program, I think what a lot of students, especially those who want to do psychology, kind of think I just want to do psychology, but then don't realize that depending on what they want to do, a lot of those career paths do need some type of extra education or certification or whatever it is. So they need to be able to think and figure out, okay, well, what programs do I need to do? So schools that offer a program that is accelerated, like a 4+2, will be able to get them in their field a lot faster. And like Jessica was saying, those internships and your different learning career departments are going to be able to help you to get you into the right program, but also into the right internships to get you faster at the end goal of your career and get to the finish line. But yeah, so that was my little spiel.
Thank you so much. So I'm going to talk about internships, and what I also want to remind everyone, we are like, if you have any questions, you can always ask in the Q&A. After I talk about internships, I'll have some like FAQ that we'll go through, and then that can help prompt some questions. But if you have any questions or want us to elaborate on what something is like generally or what it's like at our particular institution, we're happy to provide that, and we'll have a couple minutes at the end to designate for Q&A. And if no one has any questions, we can end a little bit early. So with internships, each school can handle it a little bit differently, but every school offers internships in one way or another. Some of them have like built out programs where like either they require internships to graduate or like they have like a process that they have a bank of internships where students can apply through. So it just kind of depends on each institution. And so at Santa Clara, what we do and what a lot of schools will do is we do have internships that are like listed with our career services page. But we also have some that you get through like networking or talking with your professors is always a great way. So like there's a faculty on campus within the business school that on the first day of class, he asks you like, what are the top 3 companies that you want to work for? And because he's been in the industry for decades, he has connections everywhere. And he asks that of every student. And then the next day he gives like business cards of like the people at those 3 companies. And then he says, hey, for your next assignment, you're going to reach out to each one and introduce yourself. So we have connections through professors. If you're in like a pre-professional program, a lot of companies will reach out to those, like the pre-med, pre-health, pre-law, and do some internships or offer them through their programs. And like, for example, there's an internship with like the Superior Court of Santa Clara, and they will typically reach out to like a pre-law club where they advertise that. And so a lot of pre-law students will end up doing that just to get some experience of being in the courthouse and doing like different tasks, assignments, projects there. So that's kind of how internships are advertised. Like I said, the career services will have a bank. The professors will often like forward emails when they get them of different internship offerings or in different clubs and organizations. There are different types of internships. So there are paid and then unpaid internships. It just depends on your situation. Some students can only do paid internships. Some have the flexibility of taking unpaid. But take a look at the universities that you're looking at. So for example, like at Santa Clara, we want to make sure that you're getting paid for your internship. So if you took an unpaid internship, you can reach out to our financial aid office or One Stop and say, hey, there's an internship that I applied to that's unpaid. Is there any possibility in getting a stipend? And more often than not, we're able to get a student a stipend for doing that unpaid internship to like help provide in costs, especially if some of those are in person, some of them are in the city or in San Francisco or in Palo Alto, where transportation, if you need like, if there are tolls or fast track or, you know, Caltrain or whatever to get up to those locations, it can be helpful to offset costs. So there are, like I said, unpaid and paid internships, and they're all typically advertised on the internship, whether or not they're paid. So just take a look there. And career services or at your university, it'll say like career and professional development or whatever that office is called. They have typically like a standing list of the different recruiters that have reached out to them and had like advertise their internships. So they'll like log those. Sometimes there are not just like career fairs, but internship fairs where students can bring like the resume and talk to different companies like that are for-profit, nonprofit, and take a look to see like where they could best fit. And Santa Clara is within Silicon Valley. So like tech is our largest sector. So sometimes students can be off-put that all the internships are only STEM related. They're not. And then many of these universities, if they're located in an area that has like a major industry, you don't have to like major within that area in order to like find an internship locally. There are tons of options for students. And then in the pandemic, you would think that the internship opportunities have decreased for students, but at Santa Clara and at many institutions, they've actually increased because a lot of companies, they adapted with the times and they needed interns. It's a good funneling program for their recruitment efforts. So they adapted and provided remote internships, which provided students with a lot of flexibility, especially because like for example, Santa Clara is about like 45 minutes, an hour south of Palo Alto, of San Francisco. So it was hard for students to get up there, you know, after class and still, you know, make it back for a club meeting or so. Those remote opportunities provided students with a lot of flexibility in their schedule. They're doing their internship at Google or at a ton of different companies, LinkedIn, remotely from their apartment or from their residence hall room. So if you're worried about what opportunities exist in a pandemic of those, there will be internships, or students are proof of that. Like my colleague Jessica mentioned earlier, most schools have a platform called Handshake, which is like our internal like Indeed or like LinkedIn, where companies, their recruiters, and our students can create like accounts where they can communicate and network with one another. And that's a great way to connect. And especially if, you know, at a career or an internship or a career fair, you saw a recruiter and then you looked on Handshake and you see they're also listed there, you can send them a note there or, you know, through LinkedIn. But that platform is helpful and it does show internship availability. I was just looking at it today and it shows some internships that are, it'll have a note on it that says like internal. So it's offered specifically to Santa Clara, and it'll say an external one where they're just highlighting one that's offered by a particular company or industry. There are internships, they're called micro internships. They're starting to gain popularity. So these are paid short-term internships. It's more like project-based. And it's a great way to like quickly explore different like career fields, industries, companies, and your schools will have different information, but micro internships are becoming more popular. So that's an additional opportunity of a different type of internship. And if you're wondering like what types of internships are there, it can be in anything. We have on-campus and off-campus internships. So like for on-campus, just through our own admission office, I think we have like 6 or 7 interns, some that focus on events through admission, some that focus on marketing, social media. Our athletics department has different interns, some that, like that plan events for like halftime, some that help with like marketing and sales within their ticket office. So there are interns all throughout campus. So if you're wanting something that's close by that you won't have to travel to, your university has a lot. It's the university covers so many different areas of like student life, but also they have an alumni office, finance, accounts, all of those that offer internship opportunities. And off campus, of course, would be like in the different, in what your like local area offers and what your job market is. In our area, Silicon Valley, that's going to be tech, would be the largest area. So for stories of internships, we have an ambassador who's doing 2 internships concurrently right now, one through the athletics office and one through LinkedIn. And at LinkedIn, he's working on the like diversity and inclusion team and helping to promote efforts both for their consumer base and for their staff, for the employees within the company. So like I said, internships can look different to each particular student. So that was kind of my spiel on internships. I'll go ahead and go into FAQs and then ask my colleagues these questions. And if you have any questions, please ask them through the Q&A. But here are the questions about this topic that we often get at college fairs, at high school visits, emails, and these are like student and parent questions that we get. But if any of these prompt a question, please use the Q&A chat. You can ask anonymously, it's totally fine. And we can address it to the greater group. So I can ask, let's see, I'll ask Leanne, do students need to be a bio student to apply to med school or a political science student to apply to law school?
So not necessarily, but we do recommend that they do fall under those majors, just because at that point they are receiving the prerequisites education that is required by those, and it honestly falls easier. Very rarely do we ever see it not happen that way. In some cases, a student, let's say like a nursing student, will come after they finish and then be like, well, I want to go to medical school, and we're like, okay. And those obviously fall with different requirements. So is it possible? Yes. Is it something that happens? No. But it is definitely a conversation if a student is considering that in any way, it is a conversation to have with not only an admissions counselor, but also an academic advisor to make sure, and obviously your student success team to make sure that the student is figuring that aspect out.
Thank you. Jessica, are the career services or the office with that at the institutions only available while you're a current student?
Oh, no. Okay, so for example, I know several of us talked about Handshake. You have access to that for your entire life. So that's one thing. That's a virtual option. You can get on that 10 years down the road and be like, I want to go check my profile and see if anyone's responded to me. You have access to that. So you can also go into your career services office even after you graduate. They're still willing to help you. You are still a student at your university. They still care about you. They did not just leave you on the side of the road after you graduated. Definitely go back if you need assistance. Go back, use it for sure. So no, long story short, no.
Yes, and you're a part of the community for life at each of our institutions, so those services are available. I can take this one. Can I do an internship as a freshman? So there are internships available. Some will have specific requirements, but yes, absolutely you can. We have interns in our office that they typically start more like in the spring. But you can definitely look. More become available as you continue through the university. But yes, there's not a specific like requirement at our institutions that you can't be a freshman to apply for an internship. So it's open to everybody. Just each internship will have their own requirements. Matt, what does networking look like on our campuses, and what opportunities are there?
Yeah, so for networking, it's kind of like, as my colleagues mentioned, like Handshake is obviously a great way to network with different companies and organizations as you're trying to start that college or that job search process. As everybody knows, there's the proverbial, it's not what you know, it's who you know, that really can lead to those really good opportunities in whatever job field your student is looking at. So I always say that networking really stems from, first off, getting to know your faculty in your program, really get to know them, get to know their background. If you have a particular interest in something, so say like, I don't know, like if you're for psychology, if you're interested in like school psychology as your like concentration or focus, you might want to connect with the faculty member that their specialty is school psychology on the staff, because typically there's someone who's a specialty in each area. So you want to connect with that person, maybe ask for that person to be your advisor as you're kind of going through your 4 years at the institution you're starting at. So that's first off, you start with the networking there. The second piece is like going to look at, the alumni network. So each of us has a robust alumni network. They literally track and keep track of everything when it comes to alumni, down to, where they work last summer. So they always have different connections and places. And a lot of times, even connecting back to the faculty in your program, they usually keep comprehensive lists of where alumni work and where they've gone. For example, our sports management program, which is pretty strong, has a very robust alumni network that's really well connected. Like we have over 25 people that work for the Buffalo Bills, our NFL team here in Buffalo. So it's a good example that, our department chair, he knows all of them and he connects with them all the time. Or if you're looking to work in a particular area, that networking can lead you to kind of get some exploration into particular areas. So say if, like, again, with sports management, you're not sure which level you want to work at. Do you want to work in high schools, college, professional? You can talk to someone at each of the 3 levels and kind of figure out like, yes, I like doing this area. I want to stick with college, or I want to go work on the high school side because it's more coaching and working with students and developing them as athletes. So you kind of can develop those different relationships with networking. And really, networking never stops. Literally, even right now, I can tell you from our colleagues on this call, like we have networking going on right now that we all know each other and have now met each other. So, and it's just it's a very small world when you think about it in any profession you're looking to go into, whether it's medical, law, admissions, it doesn't matter. We all know everybody. And it's kind of a really small globalized world now, so that it's very easy to get those connections and use networking to hopefully take you to that next step, wherever it might be, because that network connection might take you to the next job or internship that you're looking to do.
Thank you. Very well said. So do all majors require an internship? Maybe I'll throw it to Leanne.
Okay, so it very greatly depends on the school.
Mhm.
But for majors, and I'm speaking at least for Holy Family, for majors like sports management marketing, that is a required internship major, because we want to make sure that the student is getting that experience needed to be able to find the career after. For jobs, for internships, for majors like psychology, internships are a great way for students to be able to receive different experiences in the field, so that they can have an easier way of kind of deciding what type of program they want to go into. So should majors be required for all, should internships be required for all majors? In my personal opinion, yes. I feel like it is a great way to get that experience, because college is one thing, but the real world is a completely other thing. Yes, you're in college to have fun and get an education, but your end goal is to be able to have a career that not only makes you happy, but can kind of, give you some type of financial gain. But obviously in some different majors like nursing, and obviously those medical fields, they already have technically built-in internships with their clinical placements and those different, what is it called? Shadowing of different medical offices. So these are things that, and they do have success because they have that experience. So it depends on the school, but at least for Holy Family, yes, all of our, if not all, at least like 95% of our majors do require an internship.
Yeah, very school dependent. Matt, what's the difference between an internship and a co-op?
So you might have heard the word co-op used a lot of times specifically with engineering schools or engineering programs. So an internship is just any sort of work experience outside the classroom, really, where you're getting experience in the field that you're looking to go into. And it can be, 2 weeks, it could be 2 months. It could depend on what it is. It's very general kind of look at it. So co-ops are very specific to engineering specifically. Sometimes they even involve a leave of absence at a school that you can do a full-time in, like basically a full-time job within an engineering field for almost 6 to 9 months, depending on the type of co-op that you're doing and the type of program it is. It's really more formalized, I would say, is more of like a job almost within it. And some schools with engineering don't necessarily always have co-ops. Some still just have internships. I will say that, whether you do co-ops or internships, regardless of, your program, both of them are great experiences. Both of them will give you the kind of the out of the classroom experiences you need to go on to that next step, whatever it might be. It's just every school, it's just like a different philosophical approach to it. Because some schools have really pronounced co-op programs. The University of Buffalo here in New York has some with their engineering program, but I know like the University of Cincinnati is really known for their co-op program specifically because they were one of the first co-op programs that's been out there. So it really depends on the school that you're looking at to kind of use co-ops or internships.
Perfect. Thank you so much for my colleagues who are helping to kind of talk about what our schools can provide in preparing students for their future after college, and the resources available to do that. Our contact information is in the chat. We are so welcome and so happy to answer questions. And I typically say if it takes you longer than 10 or 15 minutes to find something on our website, just send us an email. We're happy to provide some guidance. We do this work because we enjoy helping students and their families access higher ed.
Thank you all for sharing, and thank you everyone for joining us. When you close this window, there will be a link to a very quick 5-question survey, and we'd appreciate any feedback you can provide. We encourage you to check back at the schedule and sign up for more sessions, and you'll be able to find this session's recording as well as all of the other sessions recordings at strivescan.com/NCCAA. So thanks again, everyone. Have a good rest of your evening. Bye.